What's the stupidest thing someone has said to you with confidence? If they don't teach cursive in schools anymore, who will be the next great writer? The sun is made of gold. We debated for hours. He still refused to believe it was not. Well, maybe you wouldn't have almost died in childbirth if you were living off the land. My 6th grade science teacher told the class that the moon was bigger than the sun because the moon covered the sun during an eclipse. When you drill a hole, you need to place your hand behind the spot where you're drilling. He said it'll make it easier to drill. I really didn't want to add a hole to my hand. Coworker of mine after they find out I am colorblind. So you can't see this? Is holding a red tray we used to carry orders out. I mean, yay. But wait, you can see the tray? Confused for a moment, did you think I couldn't see the object because it's red? Well, duh. If you're colorblind, you can't see things that are that color. Right. They aren't invisible to me, you dumbass. I just can't properly tell what color it is. Edit. I know the trays were red because they were literally called the red trays. ESIT 2. Deciding to put in a second story regarding people and my color blindness. I was playing Rocket League with a buddy. We're in my club clan thingy and got matched against people in a different one, so the team colors were used, isn't it, of the standard ones. Our team's was white and the others was apparently a green. I complain about it being difficult to distinguish which net to shoot at sometimes, and my buddy asks, "Do you want me to screenshot my screen and send you a picture so you can see their color?" I stayed silent and let him think about what he said. It took him about a minute before he realized what he had asked. You know, the sun is only 7 football fields away. That government spies on people through dead pixels in their screens. SMH. Someone once told me that smoking cigs will help treat my asthma. My lungs would be building a tolerance to the smoking, and that means that I won't have such a hard time during asthma attacks. My lungs would already be used to the strain that smoking causes. He even tried to back it up with, "My friends have asthma and they smoke." Asians don't have fingerprints. If you ever fall out of a plane without a parachute, you should grab onto the ground when you hit it so that you don't bounce, because that is the bounce that kills you, not the first impact. He swore that it was true and that a skydiving instructor had told him. People in high school didn't believe me when I told them that English came from England and was indigenous to England. Similarly, for some reason, someone in college insisted that English was indigenous to America. My brother-in-law said that black people have 6 toes. I'm black and said that isn't true. We actually argued over it. Space was created by Disney to further the hoax of space, Earth being round. He was dead serious, and he quoted his own brain after much research as his source. I wish I was kidding. My front desk gym rep. I gave them a 1-week free gym membership. March 27th to March 35th. That she could never use a sperm donor to have a kid, because she wasn't 100% sure that the baby child would speak English. My history teacher in high school. She didn't really say it, but she had a question on her test that basically asked where Pearl Harbor was. And to her the correct answer was Japan. So everybody who answered Hawaii got it marked wrong. There was a student revolt and she insisted it was in Japan because there was no way Japanese aircraft would make all across the ocean to attack us. We then had to explain to her that aircraft carriers were a thing back then. She wasn't convinced. Anyway, parents got involved and eventually the principal had to step in. The whole test was called into question because of some other questionable stuff. The whole thing was thrown out and we all got A's. When I was moving to Hawaii, I had a friend ask if they had cars roads there. She believed they got around using tiny boats. When I went into the nuclear navy, I got the equivalent to a PhD in nuclear engineering in 6 months. All the real nuclear engineers just fell down laughing. Talk about brainwashing. The Greeks didn't have metal. Oh. I don't believe in electrons. You shouldn't wear a seatbelt because, in the event of a crash, you're better off being thrown out of the car than being trapped in it. They laid their jacket right beside a stove. Don't worry, it's waterproof. Edit. Thank you all so much for the awards and amazing comments. Was talking to an old hippie about weed once. He insisted that there existed 2 different kinds of grams, metric and imperial. When I was in grade 10 of high school, in the US, so we were 15-16-year-olds, a guy in my class argued with me because he was insistent that the penis has a bone, because And I quote, "Why else would it be called a boner? You're not Asian, you're Chinese." A few of my coworkers and I went out to eat after work to a local bar and grill. One of my coworkers is pescatarian. Another one of my coworkers, Chris, is prone to speaking with absolute confidence about things he has incredibly little knowledge about. Janice, pescatarian, orders buffalo shrimp, which is listed under a header of wings and bites. Chris with supreme confidence corrects her and says, "No dear, those are wings." He got possibly the dirtiest look I've ever seen as the table started laughing at him uncontrollably. When my laptop had a lag spike, my friend told me the laptop was hacking itself. I had a roommate in college who visited Spain and thought that it was hilarious that people there commented on his accent. Per him, "I don't have an accent. I'm an American. Tom. You're one of the reasons that people think that we're all stupid." In a similar vein, a friend of mine in college had a boyfriend from the UK. You would not believe how many people asked him how he was able to speak English so well. It was horrifying. I worked in IT support and provided escalation support for the help desk and desktop support teams. One day a desktop support tech came into my office for help. The laptop couldn't access the internet. I asked her to open a command prompt and ping the router IP, and she got request timeouts. A point at which any halfway reasonable tech would stop and say, "Oh, the computer's not on the network." She, on the other hand, got the most know-it-all snotty tone and said to me, "I need you to focus on the problem. He cannot get on the internet. He doesn't even use this ping thing. I wish there was a window in between us so I didn't have to look at you. I'm only allergic to macaroni pasta. I'm okay with all the others. So, you're allergic to a shape? How can it be 9 a.m. here, Toronto, and 6 a.m. in Vancouver at the same time?" A work colleague. Years ago. I tried to explain it but it didn't work. Edit. Wow. This resonates with a lot of people. I remember that she was a very sweet and kind-hearted lady and she really could not understand it. I think she lacked some basic knowledge, so the concept of time zones was too advanced for her. Also, thank you for the award, kind stranger. Anne Frank is Hitler's daughter. I learned all about it. A visiting professor insisted that daylight saving time is needed at latitudes closer to the equator instead of farther from the equator. She then claimed that she lived in the USA for a while and she had experienced DST herself. Her reasoning was that New York observes DST and New York was near the equator. When I pointed out that it snows in New York and it's not close to the equator, she claimed that she had been there and it never snows in New York. We live in India, within the tropics, and we don't observe DST, but she claims we are far from the equator. She was easily the most arrogant piece of shit I have ever met. She was wrong about so many things but aggressively yelled what she thought was right. You can only get COVID-19 if you get bitten by someone who had it. I believe the ferrets have laid their eggs again in the attic. I hear them strolling around since a few days. My SSGT while I was on active duty, fairly new to the base, said straight up, "Why are you always trying to learn all the time? Just stop it, it's stupid." He didn't like it that I asked questions about WTF I was doing and why I was doing it. How else was I supposed to know how to do my job? Probably not the stupidest, but they didn't have planes in WW1. This was said while we were playing Battlefield 1 from a high schooler who has seen It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown at least a couple of times. Also, to make this better, this happened on 3 separate occasions.